Hey everyone, and welcome. I am Morgan Gist McDonald, founder CEO of Paper Raven Books, and I have with us today a super special guest. And today we are talking about health and chronic illness, and not only our personal struggles, but also the broader issues, those social and political aspects of chronic illness, especially that we are facing now in our culture. So, the book that we are talking about is called Rebel Healing: Transforming Ourselves and the Systems That Make Us Sick. And I have with us today the author, who is a politicized coach for social change leaders. So, as you can tell, we are going to go deep in this conversation. If you have any, personal curiosity or questions around what might make social change really impactful and important for us as individuals and as groups, you're going to want to pay attention to this conversation. And we are talking with the author, Noelle Janka. Noelle, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Morgan. I'm excited to chat about it.
Yeah, what I love about your book, Rebel Healing, is that not only are you willing to take us into your personal story, but you also have this zoomed out, broader spectrum for us to really consider. So you bring both to us in this book. And I'd love for you to maybe kick it off by telling us a little bit about your story and how you have struggled with chronic illness in your own life.
Sure, yeah. So I've been in the game for more than 22 years. First got sick when I was 15. I haven't always been super sick. It's kind of been ebb and flow my whole adult life. Most recently got sick again a couple years ago after getting the first COVID vaccine. But I have been a coach for social impact leaders and also folks with health challenges for the last 8 years. So the book was inspired by my own experience, the books that I wanted, and also from working with clients and just kind of noticing these holes in conversations about wellness and chronic illness, and wanting to fill those holes and give people something else to think about and to frame their journeys.
Can you tell us a little bit about the work that you do? Because I find it fascinating that you come right out of the gate and you're like, I'm a politicized coach for social change leaders. Like, can you can you tell us kind of what that means in your work with people?
Yeah, so the reason I say I'm a politicized coach is because there's a lot of life and leadership and career coaches out there that focus on people's individual experience and helping them move kind of internal blocks out of the way so they can do the things they want to do. And I do that, but I also bring in the wider context. So with a lot of my clients, I find that it's helpful to say, like, okay, this is the story that you've been telling yourself. And when they can say, oh, that story is internalized ableism, or that story is, the like American individualism, or that's, internalized patriarchy, then it's so much easier to be like, that is not my story. Like, that is not my reality. And then once people can move that out of the way, they can begin to be clear on what is true for them, and what their truths and like the actual story really is.
And do you bring that into Rebel Healing? How do you feel like that comes through or shines through inside of the book?
Yeah, because so part of the reason I wrote the book is because I couldn't find other, except for books about specifically disability justice or healing justice, I couldn't find books about chronic illness that took the wider context into account. And especially because the wellness industry, I think, is so shamey and gaslighty. It's like, if you just do all of these things, you're going to get better. And I'm sitting here like, except like all the ways in which people are oppressed and how that's showing up in their bodies. And so part of what I'm trying to do with the book is to bring in that wider frame and help people see that their chronic illness is not entirely on them, as the CDC and doctors and others might have them believe, and also that they're not alone, that actually more than half the people in this country have at least one chronic condition, and that the reason there's a reason that our healthcare system isn't able to support so many of these people, right? I think a lot of chronic illness is chronic only because people aren't given what they need to actually heal. And then, like, what makes kind of all of that true is the legacy of the beginning of the United States, which is, built on unfortunately, genocide and the free land that came with that, and free, and enslaving people. And so all of that is still present today, and I think that that's part of what's showing up in our bodies, and the legacy of that is something that we need to reckon with in ourselves and in our society as part of our broader healing process.
You said 50% of us struggle with chronic illness.
More than 50%, yeah.
More than 50%. And when someone comes to you, like, if let's say we're in a conversation, I'm coming to you, I'm like, Noelle, I'm struggling with this chronic illness. What would you ask me to look at, that might help pull me out of just my personal experience? What kind of things would you recommend me think about or consider?
Because I work a lot with people at the intersection of health and career, I think that's often where we start is, are you happy in your job? Are you in a workplace that feels toxic? Did you have a traumatic experience at work that's impacting your health? Is there something about your work life that's just not working for you or for your body? That's a lot of where we start, but also, the regular things too, like family relationships, where in the neighborhood that you live in, the environment that you're in, like all of these things can have such a big impact as well. And yeah, I think and it's surprising how much just trauma more broadly shows up in this work, even though I'm not a therapist. It's just like, it's everywhere.
So what has surprised you about the years that you've been struggling with your own, health story and working with others and doing the research for your work? And a lot of that shows up in Rebel Healing. What have been some of the things that you've discovered about the systematization of chronic illness that have surprised you?
One of the places where I started thinking like, I think there's something kind of off here was being, I'm trained as a grassroots organizer and grew up in DC. So I sort of have this political lens, I think maybe more so than other people. And I was in all these different support groups specifically for Lyme disease, which is one of the things that I have lived with. And I was hearing people say things that felt really ableist, sort of treating illness as this, not to say that it's not terrible, but just as this thing that was going to ruin your life. And like, if you couldn't get antibiotics and get back to work and be productive, then like you weren't going to be a valuable member of society. And that's in a support group, And so I was sort of like, I think that's just because that's so much of our culture, is our worth is based on what we do and how we show up. And so I think part of what I wanted to offer in the book, and part of what I try to do with my clients is tease all of that apart, help people see that even if they never get better, even if their bodies are never going to do the things they used to do, or the things that the bodies around them do, they're still so valid and they have so much worth and they're so important. And just being willing, for my clients and for the people reading the book, what I'm trying to say is just being willing to be thoughtful about the way that you show up, to be willing to do your healing work is in itself a contribution.
Yes. Yeah, that's beautiful. So when we go through Rebel Healing and we're reading the book, when we come to the end, how do you hope that we are thinking about chronic illness, our bodies, our existence kind of in this society together? How do you hope we're thinking about things differently?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think there's kind of three things that are missing from the broader conversation about healing chronic illness. And one is context. We already talked about that. Another one is connection. And I think I really try to emphasize that in the book, that like healing works best when we're always thinking about it as personal and collective at the same time. And one of the ways that we can resist the sort of the illness-inducing aspects of normative culture is by asking for support and building the communities of care that don't exist right now, and really, getting other people on board with that. And then the third thing that I think I really want to leave folks with is the value of intuition, specifically in the process of healing, like, and being able to inviting people to do whatever it takes to get to a point where they can cultivate and trust their own wisdom, because the body really will tell you what you need. But most of us are trained out of listening to that, or trained out of trusting that. But I really think it's one of the most valuable healing tools that there is.
How has intuition played a role in your journey?
um, I mean, I really use it all the time, not just for my health, but for my business too. I mean, I don't know if you have this experience as a business owner, but you know, I just try to check in with myself a lot. Like, is this somebody that I want to work with? You know, yes or no, or like, is this healing practitioner like actually going to help me get where I want to go? And like I said, like, I got sick from the first COVID vaccine. I didn't check in with myself about that one. I ended up getting a booster because I checked in with my intuition, and it was like, get the booster, get the Moderna, and it was great. It was fine. So I'm just such a big believer in that, because it's like, when I do it, it's great. When I don't do it, I often suffer consequences.
Love it. Is there anything else that you would like readers to know as they're diving in? They're going to be jumping into Rebel Healing. And in fact, let me go ahead and encourage you guys. If you're here, if you are listening to this conversation and you're like, holy moly, Noelle's blowing my mind. I didn't know that we could have this kind of conversation about illness and health and personal and societal and doing this together. You can grab a copy of Rebel Healing right now. We are launching the book. We want to get out to as many people as possible. The ebook's on promotion right now. Of course, you can grab a physical copy too if you want it on your nightstand for highlighting and underlining. There it is. You can go to paperravenbooks.com/rebel healing. All one word, take you straight over to Amazon. You can grab your ebook, your physical book, whichever you prefer. And we would encourage you to go ahead and do that right now. And yeah, Noelle, anything that you would especially like readers to know or be thinking about as they're diving into Rebel Healing?
Yeah, I mean, I hope that people find other people to read it with, so that they can have conversations with each other about it. And for folks who, you know, want to be part of a broader conversation about these topics, they can go to my website, noellejanka.com. I have a series of events coming up, and I have programs launching early next year where people can be in groups with me, and we're going to be diving into this stuff together. So there's definitely opportunities to take it beyond just reading the book.
Perfect. So if you know somebody, and I feel like all of us know somebody, whether we struggle with chronic illness ourselves, or maybe we haven't in a while, or maybe we haven't ever, you know, if we're one of the statistically, you know, few in the country, and we probably know at least one person. I know several myself, like very close to me, family and close friends. And wouldn't this be an amazing way to let them know that you're thinking about them, that you want to support them? Let them know about Rebel Healing. Tag them in this video, share this with them, share the book with them, offer to read it together so that maybe you can think about health and wellness and illness and doing it together differently. And then, yeah, like you said, Noelle, if you want more, you know, of Noelle, you want more of a group, a support, a network that you could plug into, noellejanka.com is where you can get plugged into the upcoming events and some more support there. So go ahead and grab the book today. paperravenbooks.com/rebel healing will get you right over to the book. And then any events and support you can get at noellejanka.com. Noelle, thank you so much for being here with us, for opening up this conversation and really inviting us into a different way of looking at chronic illness and health and doing it together. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Morgan. Thanks for the time, and thanks to the whole Paper Raven team for helping me make it happen.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we are super excited to get this book out into the world. Y'all go grab a copy and let your loved ones, your family, your friends, the people who are close to you, let them know that this book is launching. They can get a copy too. And we will see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.